So in addition to the 2 day-night shades I purchased and installed in the living room, I now have a day-night shade up in the bedroom, and I have these shades behind me. So this is a light filtering shade, light filtering, and this is a light filtering levitate shade. I did reach out to SmartWings and they sent me a few shades for free, so thank you. And because these are cellular shades, they actually help cut down on heating and cooling costs. The honeycomb design traps air inside the pockets, creating a layer of insulation between the window and the room. So in the summer, it helps heat from coming in, and in the winter, it helps from heat going out. Over time, that little bit of extra insulation can mean less work for your AC and furnace, which saves electricity. So that's why I went with cellular shades. I also think they look pretty cool. By the way, Home Assistant is a smart home platform that lets you control and manage all your smart devices from one place. It's like Google Home or Apple HomeKit, but open source and way more powerful. So let me show off some of the ways that I control these shades once they're integrated into Home Assistant. Here are some buttons. I'm gonna use the one on the right. I'm gonna use the top button to open the shade, the middle button to stop the shade, and the bottom button to close the shade. That's about as basic as you can get with the buttons, so let's move on to something more advanced. This is a smart light switch, so you can turn the lights off with one click, you can turn the lights on with a single click. If I double click up, it'll open the shades. If I double click down, it's gonna close the shades. And if I triple click, I can do something else, so I've got a certain position I put the shades in for triple click. You can even set an automation if you hold the button down, but I didn't do that. And the best part is you can't really lose the remote because it's on the wall. Here we are in the living room. We have a shade here and a shade there. This was the first shade I bought because of the obvious glare on the TV. So if you turn the TV on, I have an automation that runs to black out this shade. TV's on. There you go. Very slight delay. No glare. Now, if you turn the TV off, another automation runs and puts it back in sheer mode, so the privacy will still be there, but you'll let light in. Here we are in the bedroom. I use this automation every night. When I go to bed, I set up my focus mode to sleep on my Apple Watch. This triggers an automation that closes the shades to blackout, turns on the air purifier, shuts off all the lights throughout the house, and locks the front door. Let me show you how that works. I'll just show you how to do it on my iPhone. So you go to focus, switch to sleep. In the morning at 9 a.m., the sheer shades will come down 25% every minute. This is so I'm not completely blinded by the lights the first thing in the morning. So that's what this would look like. One last unrelated automation I want to show off is called wind down mode. About an hour before I go to bed, I'll switch on a focus mode on my watch called wind down. And when I trigger that, all the lights turn red along with my Mac, my iPad, my iPhone, and my watch. Focus and wind down. They'll turn it off. Ta-da! That one is used every night as well. To connect these shades to Home Assistant, you hold the button on the shade for 6 seconds. The motor will jog twice and a red light will light up. That means it's in pairing mode. In Home Assistant, you go to the Z-Wave integration, click the settings icon and click Add Device. Once it finds your shade, you'll be prompted to enter the DSK or the device specific key, which is located on the bottom of the shade. Once that finishes, you can name it and test it out. Now on to creating the automations. Go to Settings, Automations, Create New Automation. In the automation editor, you'll see 3 main parts: trigger, condition, and action. The trigger is what starts it, the condition is when it's allowed to run, and the action is what it actually does. Click Add Trigger, choose Device, select a button from the list. I'm going to use Akara button 2. Pick the event type you want, like a single or double press. So we have a single action, double action, and a hold action. I'm going to do single action. We're going to skip the and if for now. Click Add Action. In Home Assistant, a shade is called a cover, so search cover. And we have actions here like open the cover, close the cover, toggle the cover. We're going to click Open. Select the entity. We're going to select the bedroom blackout shade. Click Save, give it a name. And that's your first automation. You click the button once, the shade will open. Now let's create an automation to close the shade if we double press the button. You can go back and create a completely separate automation, or you can do what I do and set up a trigger ID for each trigger. This makes it possible to identify which trigger fired within a single automation. First, you add a unique trigger ID for each trigger. Here's how you add a trigger ID. You go to the ellipses here, click Edit ID, give this a name here. Now we can add another trigger. Let's say we want to control the double click now. Edit ID. So now we have two triggers. When it single clicks, this is going to be the trigger ID. When you double click, this is going to be the trigger ID. Now you're going to add a choose action down here. This is basically an if-else statement. So for option 1, we want to say, if the button was clicked once, open the shade. So we search for triggered by. Then choose the action to open the shade, single, and then we want to add our action to open the shade. Recently, Home Assistant added drag and drop functionality, so you can drag this down in the action section. So far, we have a choose, option 1, if you single click, open the shade. Let's add another option, so click add option. We'll do triggered by again, double, cover close, choose entity, bedroom blackout, save. Now this single automation will open and close the shade using a single button. So we'll walk through it one more time. When we single click the button, this trigger ID is going to trigger. We have a conditional here, it says if this was triggered by a single, open the shade. And we have option 2 here, if it was triggered by double, close the shade. Not too bad. Let's move on to the living room automation. When the TV turns on, it's going to close the blackout shade, and when the TV turns off, it's going to open the sheer shade. This one's pretty simple. My triggers are states. So if you go add trigger, state, you can do a state or a numeric state. So this would be numbers, this would be like on off, stuff like that. Every entity in Home Assistant has a state. For this one, I'm looking for the current state of my TV. If it goes from any state to on, I wanted to trigger this automation. Same with off. And they both have trigger IDs, so we can use those down in the action section. So we go down to the action section. If TV on, run these actions. So open shear, wait 2 seconds, close the blackout. So that'll make sure behind the TV is blacked out. If it's triggered by TV off, it closes the shear, which shows shear behind the TV. Now on to the bedroom automation. This one is more complicated because it requires an iOS shortcut, a helper toggle in Home Assistant, as well as an automation. I'm going to skip over the iOS portion. Just know that whenever I go into sleep focus mode on my iPhone runs an automation that tells Home Assistant that I'm in that mode by setting this toggle. Down here in the action section, I have a choose. So if sleep mode is on or sleep mode is turned off. So if sleep mode is on, turn off all the lights, lock the front door. Here's another state condition. So this says if the blackout bedroom shade position is above 0, so it's partially opened or fully opened, then run this script, which closes it. And also turn on the air purifier. So those 4 things are complete when that sleep mode is turned on. Then when sleep mode is turned off, it just turns off the air purifier. I have another automation to open the shades. The script is new, so let me show you how that works. A script is just a way of reusing logic instead of having to rewrite it every time. Bedroom blackout is a simple script that closes the blackout shades, waits 2 seconds, then opens the shear, which makes it blackout. Let me show you that. So you go to settings, automations, scripts, search bedroom blackout. Here's that simple script. Just closes the blackout shade, waits 2 seconds, opens the shear shade, which will make the room blackout. So I don't have to rewrite these 3 steps every time. I can say, just run this script. So that's how that works. Let me show you one more automation. The last one is weather related. It'll close the shades at 7 a.m. if the day's high temperature is over 90 degrees. Then it will open the shades at noon once the sun is over the house and the sun is no longer shining in the window. So we have 2 time-based triggers, 7 and 12, with the trigger ID morning close and noon open. We can finally use the and if section. And I have an integration called Pirate Weather. It allows you to get the basic weather forecast and certain sensors like today's high temp. So if today's high temperature is above 90, Then we're gonna do these two actions, one of these two actions. You can see they're triggered by the trigger ID again. So if morning close triggered, which triggers at 7 a.m., it's going to turn on this script, fireplace daytime. This will actually close the shades. And then at noon, another trigger will run, and it will run the script fireplace open, which will open all the shades. So you can automatically close and open the shades based on the time of day and the weather. And we're using scripts. So we kind of bring it all together in one automation here. Those are all the automations I'm gonna go over in this video. I have many more automations I can go over in the next video, but for now, leave any questions you have in the comments below and I'll try to help you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.